It's over. The UK is leaving the non-dom club. Billionaires and millionaires are fleeing the UK. According to many reports, the UK might be one of the few Western countries to actually lose billionaires and millionaires in the coming years. And yet, amongst all this negative information, all these negative press releases, there is one bit of hope that I have recently uncovered as Research and Development Associate here at Nomad Capitalist. And today, I want to talk to you about that. Does the UK still have one last chance to make it right? Hello everyone, my name is Javier Correa and I'm a Research and Development Associate here at Nomad Capitalist, where we help 7- and 8-figure entrepreneurs legally reduce their taxes, go where they're treated best, set up offshore corporate structures, and improve their lifestyles overall. And one of the countries that was a bit controversial throughout, that has been a bit controversial throughout all these years, where we have recommended clients go, has been the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland. Now, if you are from the UK, you were born in the UK, you've been in the UK your entire life, you might say, Javier, what the hell are you saying? This is impossible. The UK is one of the worst places to be in terms of taxes. Well, it turns out that for hundreds of years, the UK had this great system called the non-domiciled tax system, or the non-domiciled tax regime. We have other videos that talk about what non-dom is, how it works, etc. But essentially, it was a distinction that was introduced in British law between domicile and residence, whereby your place of residence is your place where you physically live, where you have a domain, a dwelling, an actual house where you actually spend time. But your domicile is your center of vital interest. It is something that involves a closer connection with that place, maybe culturally. There's a question of origin. There is, due to Roman law, there is also a link to where your father was born and where your family is from. And so overall, it just involves some much deeper ties. If you're interested in that, we have a ton of other videos. Check those out. But the point is this system was born in the UK. It was exported through the British Empire to places like Malta, next door in Ireland, Cyprus, Barbados. But unfortunately, the UK has decided to leave the non-dom club, meaning that the United Kingdom, starting 2025, will no longer have a non-domiciled tax regime. Now, under this regime, the cool thing is that if you were deemed resident but not domiciled of the United Kingdom, you would be able, before 2025, to basically only pay tax on your locally sourced UK income and on any foreign income that would be remitted to the United Kingdom. Now, the UK did have some more complex rules when compared to Ireland or Malta, for example, and it did involve what they called a surcharge after a certain period of time. But overall, that's how the system worked. Any income that you earned outside of the UK, as long as it remained outside of the UK, you did not have to pay any British tax on it. So basically, if you were living in London and you had access to the non-domiciled tax regime and you had multi-billion-dollar incomes from your oil wells in the Middle East or from your stock portfolio in New York, essentially you did not have to worry about British taxation on any income that remained outside of the UK in your Swiss, US, or Maltese or Singaporean bank account. Because the UK announced that it was going to end this very beneficial regime, which essentially was great for wealthy foreigners, it is not safe to say that no UK citizen could apply, but they did make it very difficult. For example, if you were born in the UK after 2017, you could not apply. This reduced the number of British citizens who could actually benefit from this and so forth. So just on a general note, with a few exceptions, it was a system that mostly benefited wealthy foreigners who wanted to live in the UK, especially London. But with the announcement that this system is going away, a lot of those wealthy foreigners said, well, you know what? I'm now leaving because the UK is no longer beneficial for me. I can go next door to Ireland. I can go to Malta and get better weather. I can go to Cyprus. I can go to the Caribbean. I can maybe go to Spain and benefit from their updated and revitalized tax incentive, the Beckham Law. And so the UK started hemorrhaging millionaires and billionaires. The cool thing here is that not everything is lost. Now, it may appear that everything is in a very difficult period and there is some difficulties ahead, but there is a new tax proposal in the UK that might make the country slightly come back in terms of being a hub for wealthy foreigners who want to live in a developed part of the world and in Europe in particular. So what is the proposal? Let's break this down. So basically the proposal is the following. The UK now wants to adopt a tax incentive that would last 4 years and that would turn the UK effectively into a territorial tax system for the first 4 years of residence, of tax residence of newcomers to the UK. And this would include obviously foreigners who have never been tax resident of the UK, as well as UK citizens who have not been tax residents of the UK for the past 10 years. In other words, anyone who hasn't been tax resident of the UK for the past 10 years, regardless of British nationality or citizenship, would be able to benefit from this tax system. There is also talk about the introduction of some kind of provision that would limit how many times you can enter the UK, exit the UK, come back, etc. But overall, this is how the system might potentially work. And what I mean by it being a territorial system is that now, under this new proposal, if it were to be approved by Parliament and if it does become law, let's say a wealthy foreigner could move into the UK, buy a wonderful flat in London, somewhere in Chelsea, somewhere near Hyde Park. You could enjoy the West End and the great high-end shopping in London, and you could benefit for the first 4 years of a system whereby all of your foreign income would essentially be tax-free, similar to what would happen in a Panama or a Costa Rica or a Uruguay under their 11-year tax holiday. So you don't have to worry about surcharges. You don't have to worry about remitting or not remitting your income to the UK. You can essentially have your foreign income, bring it in, enjoy that income in London or anywhere else you want to live in the UK, and you don't have to worry about taxation on that income for the first 4 years. So this sort of resembles the system New Zealand has for certain newcomers, and it also resembles to a certain extent the Beckham law in Spain, which is very similar. It lasts for 6 years, and then you also have a territorial tax system that is in place for that period of time, with the exception of salary. So obviously, every country has its own caveats, but the important thing is the UK is moving closer towards this type of incentive as opposed to the non-domiciled tax regime. Now, 4 years isn't that long, but for people who want to enjoy the UK lifestyle at least once in their lives, or who want to enjoy London, and I do keep coming back to London. If there are some of you watching this channel who aren't from London, I do apologize. This, that most of our clients, or many of our clients, are interested in the wonderful things London as a city has to offer. And if you are one of those people, then definitely this 4-year tax exemption might be interesting. Now, the important thing to note here as well is that the UK, even though it might introduce this special tax regime for newcomers under the rules I explained previously, the UK lacks any kind of immigration permit that would allow wealthy foreigners to easily move into the UK. Now, if you, for example, are Irish, right, and you are domiciled in Ireland, meaning that you cannot claim the Irish non-dom regime, you could potentially use your Irish passport, and via the CTA agreement, the Common Travel Area Agreement, you could relocate to the UK and potentially benefit from this 4-year exemption. And it's close to home, weather is close enough, you speak the same language, and it might be beneficial for you. And do keep in mind that Irish citizens, regardless of where your domicile is, can take advantage of this. So for example, if you're in the US, if you're in Canada, and you have that grandmother, if you have that great-grandmother, that parent that potentially came over from Ireland, and you can claim that Irish citizenship by descent, then this might also be an interesting option for you. We actually did a great video on our main channel recently where our founder, Andrew Henderson, visited the country of Wales and reconnected with his ancestry and with his bloodline, tracing it back all the way to the 19th century. So do keep in mind that citizenship by descent is not possible in all cases, but whenever it is possible, and Ireland is one of the countries that makes it, I would say, the most accessible, then claiming that second passport can easily be a path to achieving some other goals. So again, for example, let's say you are Canadian and you become Irish by descent. You could easily then deregister as a Canadian tax resident and then use your Irish passport to move to London and essentially benefit from the 4-year tax exemption there. And you could enjoy life in London with your new passport passport without having to pay taxes in Canada, provided that you've properly deregistered and you've paid all departure taxes needed if necessary. And through your passport by descent, you're able to live in another country and enjoy that country's great lifestyle. And you know what? After the 4 years are up in the UK, if you've got that Irish passport, then you can simply hop on over to Spain and benefit from their tax regime, again, by moving there, doing the right steps and doing things properly. You've got Malta, you've got Cyprus. So obviously, citizenship by descent and having one passport that can provide so many benefits is always something to consider. So bottom line, is the UK making some kind of a comeback? Potentially. We have to see if Parliament actually approves this. We have to see what the final legal text is actually going to say, because often politicians love to talk about the major things they want to do in the headlines, and then when you read the small letters towards the end of everything, then they have a ton of exceptions and caveats and things that you have to comply with to actually get those benefits. So sometimes it is not as clear cut. Let's hope that the UK wakes up and realizes that millionaires and billionaires help the economy, that they help by consuming, that they help by investing, that they help by buying and renting homes, by hiring staff, by potentially hiring workers locally if they're starting a local business or something of that nature. So with all this in mind, if you want to keep an eye on the UK, if you want to learn more about citizenship by descent potentially, if you want to know more about how you could live in Europe or anywhere else in the world for that matter under tax-friendly terms, then make sure to visit our website, nomadcapitalist.com/apply, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on Instagram, and I'll see you in the next video.